Kakadosh Boker Tov Masechet Chagigah Daf Bet Amud Aleph. We're starting a new Masechet, which is Hagigah 2a1. Says the Mishnah. We are obviously going to be talking about the Korban Chagigah. Remember that since it's written in the Torah, Velo yirau fanai rekam, which means you cannot see my face empty-handed, right? Which means you cannot come to visit. That's actually also a musar in Derech Eretz. When you're going to be a guest somewhere, you don't come empty-handed. So therefore, says the Mishnah, Kol chayavim barre'iyah. We know that there's going to be two types of korbanot on Shalosh Regalim. Shalosh Regalim is Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And there's going to be two types of korbanot. One korban is Olat Re'iyah and Shalmei Chagigah. Olat Re'iyah is Lo Tarau Panei Rekam, which means it's an Olah, right? And the Chagigah. So everybody is obligated in the Re'iyah. Hakol Chayavim Barre'iyah, Chutz Mecheresh Shoteh Vekatan, except for a Cheresh, a deaf mute, Shoteh, a person that's not 100% there, Vekatan, and a minor, a child. Vetumtum, a tumtum. What is a tumtum? We do not know if he is a male or a female. Androgynos, somebody that has both, right? A male and female organs. Venashim, women. Va'avadim shenem mishochrarim, and slaves which are not freed. Hachiger ve'asuma ve'achole ve'azakenu mishenu yachol la'alo b'raglav. Also a chiger, a person that's lame or blind or sick or elderly that they cannot, right? Or somebody that cannot go up with his feet to go up from Yerushalayim to the Azara. So all these people, because they have some type of a handicap or defection, so therefore, right, what happens is that they are going to be patur from the Korban Re'iyah. And now says the Mishnah, Ezu Katan, who is a Katan? It says, Kol she'enu yachol lirkov al ketefav shel aviv ve'la'alot miYerushalayim la'Harabayit. Anybody that cannot go on the shoulders, right, of their father and to go up to Yerushalayim to Harabayit, right? These are the words of Bet Shammai. So that person is going to come and is going to be exempt from the korbanot. Bet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel says, it's not that he cannot go on the shoulders, it's that he cannot take his father's hand and go up from, right, Yerushalayim to Harabayit. It says in a pasuk, Shalosh Regalim. Why did it say Shalosh Regalim, which is referring to a regel in the Lashon? 1 second. Regalim, we know it's a chag. What is Shalosh Regalim? From the Lashon of Raglaim. Raglaim means that only somebody that could come, right, and could go up with his feet, right? He comes and he's going to be obligated. Bet Shammai Omrim. Bet Shammai says, Har-Re'iyah. What does it mean exactly, the Korban Re'iyah? Shte kesef, which means the Olat Re'iyah has to be minimum of 2 ma'ot kesef, which is a shlish dinar. The Korban Chagigah is a ma'a kesef. It's going to be 1 ma'av kesef, which is going to be 1/6 of a dinar. Bet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel says the exact opposite. Korban Re'iyah is ma'av kesef. Korban Chagigah is shte ma'ot of kesef. So basically, there's a machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, opposite opinions. What has to be more value, more expensive, the Korban Olat Re'iyah or the Korban Shalmei Chagigah? And we'll obviously explain that in the Gemara. What is more expensive?
Oh, yeah?
Says the Gemara, Hakol le'atuye mai. What is it coming to include? What does that mean? The word Hakol, right? Hakol chayavim b're'iyah. Everybody is obligated in re'iyah. What is Hakol coming to include? So Hakol le'atuye mai. Le'atuye, it's coming to include Mishechetzio eve v'chetzio mechonim. Somebody that's half a slave and half of a free man. Okay, why? Because he's also chayav lirao, because of the chelek ben chorin shebo, which means this guy's a half slave and half free. So because of the half free, he's obligated to go. Because we said that who's exempt? Avadim shenem mishuchrim, slaves that are not freed. So obviously the fact that he's half freed, his portion of his body, which is half freed, is obligated in the Korban Re'iyah. So therefore, when it says Hakol, it comes to include Mishechetzio Eved v'Chetzio Ben Chorim. Uravina de Amar, but according to Ravina, that he says Mishechetzio Eved v'Chetzio Ben Chorim Patu Min Re'iyah. He says that somebody that's half is also exempt from the Korban Re'iyah. So what is Hakol La'atu Yemai then coming? What is the Hakol coming to include? Obviously, the word Hakol, everybody means that you're including something, right? Because if not, the word everybody, obviously you're coming to include it, because you gave me afterwards an entire list of exclusions, right, of the check marks over there. So says the Gemara, what happens if you had a person that he was lame on the first day, and then he was cured on the second day? Meaning the first day of the regel, he was lame. He couldn't go up. But all of a sudden, the second day, Baruch Hashem, they fixed it up. And then he went to Dr. Berkowitz. He fixed him out. No problem, right? Or he was a tumtum beforehand, right? And then afterwards, they went and they cut, and all of a sudden, they see what it is, right? And it became a meal, right? So therefore, what happens? So, right? So he comes and he says, right? In all these cases, so he comes and he says, Chiger b'yom rishon v'yipasher b'yom sheni. He's going, that means even though he was patur from the mitzat riyah on the yom rishon, he's going to be chayav in the korban riyah in the yom sheni. So says the Gemara, Hani chalamad amar kulan tashlumin zelazeh. That's only good according to the Manda Amar, that every single day of the tashlumin is a chiyuv mitzad atzmo, which means that, because if you're going to tell me, we know that there's 7 days of tashlumin. What is 7 days of tashlumin? If you didn't bring the first day, you could bring the korban riyah or the shamei Hagigah the second day, third day, fourth day, fifth, sixth, seventh. Right? You have 7 days to do it. And that's why even after Shavuot, we also have the tashlumin, and that's why we don't do the acharonim 7 days after Shavuot. Now, the question is like this, 1 second. If we just said right now that there's going to be 7 days, right, of tashlumin, but now 1 second, this has to be that it's tashlumin zelazeh. What does it mean tashlumin? Tashlumin means, right, that we're coming and we're trying to say that each one is a tashlumin, that means there's a new chiyuv. But according to the Manda Amar, that kulan tashlumin rishon, everything is a tashlum of the first day, sakol latu yemai. It means basically like this, there's a hakira. You know what a hakira is? Hokear. You know, hokear. You're investigating. You're trying to understand. When we have the 7 days of tashlumin, does that mean that every single day is a new obligation, right? Or do we say that no, that really be'emet, the obligation is the first day, and the tashlumin are the obligation? So now 1 second, what's an afkamina? Very simple. The ramification is, if on the first day you were exempt, so I don't care if the second day you were healed, everything goes back on the first day. Today you could bring it. Yeah, today you could bring it, but of yesterday, right? And tomorrow you could bring it because of 2 days ago, and 3 days you could bring it because of 4 days ago. So if you're going to tell me that the tashlumin is of the first day, and the first day is the kovea, is what fixes whether a person is obligated or not obligated. So then, okay, so then akol, what does it come into include? Because I can't use anymore the case of chiger b'yom rishon v'yipasher b'yom sheni. Because if he was chiger b'yom rishon, he was exempt. I became better on the second day, and now he's able to walk up to Yerushalayim. What do I care? On the first day he was exempt. Chalas, nigman hasipur, right? Nothing to do with it. Let's say a person is blind as one of his eyes. Yeah, mamash, he's blind in one of his eyes. So it says, what does that mean? So he's also obligated to come and to do aliyah l'regel, because he's not completely blind. We said a suma. Suma is normally in both eyes. Here the guy's blind, right? But he's got a patch. Yeah, he's only blind in one of his eyes. Udelo ki not like this Tanya. The Tanya was learned to the right. Yochanan ben Dahavai omer mishum Rabbi Yehuda. Says Yochanan ben Dahavai in the name of Yehuda. Suma be'acham me'ena patur min hariyah. According to him, he says that a suma, and even in one of his eyes, is patur korban riyah. Why? Shneimar yireh. What does it mean yireh? Yireh is mashma yira'eh, which means kederach sheba lirot kach ba leira'ot. Ma lirot b'shtei einav, af lira'ot b'shtei einav, which means just like when a person comes to see, they use both eyes. A person doesn't come to see with one eye. So too, when they come to be seen, they should come with 2 eyes. So if they're going to only have 1 eye, so therefore he's going to be exempt. So according to this shita of Yochanan ben Dahavai in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, a person that's a suma with 1 eye, he's blind in 1 eye, he's also exempt of the korban re'iyah and to come to do aliyah l'regel. Okay? So says now the Gemara, yeah, or if you could come and you could answer, right? Le'olam kidem amri me'ikara. Really be'emet, like we answered at the beginning, that the word hakol comes to include chetzi eve v'chetzi ben chorim, which means half of a slave and half of a free man. So now, when you wanted to ask had Ravina, right? The question of Ravina, the 1 second, it says chutz me'avadim shen meshuchranim, and therefore it's coming to include to exclude them. Lakash, that's not a question. Kan k'mishnah rishona, the kan k'mishnah acharona. One, there's a mishnah rishona, mishnah acharona. The concept of mishnah rishona, mishnah acharona means that sometimes you have a psak din, right? Or here a mishnah rishona, which says a certain halacha, and then afterwards they retract. When they retract, they come and they give a different psak. So that's called mishnah acharona. That happens even in poskim. Sometimes you happen, right? Many times, or not many times, but you happen. Sometimes it happens even by Rav Ovadia. Rav Ovadia will write something, for example, in the Halichot Olam, and then many years later, when the Chazon Ovadia came out, he wrote something different, right? Sometimes it could be even a nuance. There's something different. So many times we will always go like Mishnah Acharona. Mishnah Acharona means we go like the last sefer, right? Or the same question they always ask about the Bet Yosef. What came first, Bet Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, Pedek Habayit, Bet Yosef? Why? Because we go like the Mishnah Acharona. Mishnah Acharona means the last psak that they gave was maybe they retracted and all of a sudden something different. So here we're going like the Mishnah Rishona, which means that Bet Hillel says Chetzi v'Chetzi min Chorin is still in the same matzav. Here, in the case of Hakol, which is the beginning of the Mishnah, we're going like the Mishnah Charona. The Tanambas we learned the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah Gitin. Now remember, Gitin is after, right? Is after Hagigah. So it says over there, Ditnan was we learned the Mishnah Gitin. Right. So according to Shittat Bet Hillel, imagine right now you have somebody that he's half. He's half a slave and half free. So you know what he does? One day he works for his master. The other day he's a free man. So he's working for himself. Why? Because he's half free. So therefore it's half. Right? These are the words of Bet Hillel. Right? Amrulahem Bet Shammai come and they tell them bet amu bet, to be. Yeah? To be or not to be. It says over here, Tikantem et Rabo. You fixed his rabbi. Right? Why? Because the rabbi gets what's magialo, gets exactly what he needed. He needed 1 day of work for every, because he was half. So he says, but you never fixed him. Why? He can't get married to a shivcha anymore. Remember that a person that's an eved, we're going to see now, a person that's an eved, right? The master is allowed to give him a shivcha. Shivcha is a maid servant. Okay, so he says, Lisa shivcha enu yachol, bat chorin enu yachol. He also can't get married to a normal woman. So he's basically, yeah, but he's half free. So because he's half free, the half free part of him cannot get married to a shivcha. Now he can get married to a normal woman because he's half slave. So for what happened? Libatel, what? He's not going to get married at all. The entire world was created to procreate. But it says in that the entire world, the world was not created. Only was created to dwell in it. Because of Tikkun Olam, that basically he could have children. We force the master to free him completely. And then what happens is that he has to write the document that he owes his master half of his amount, half of his value. Because what happened? He freed himself half. So what does he have to do now? He has to actually free the other half. So now we come and we tell the master, free him. Yeah, but I still, okay. He writes a document, he owes you half of his value. And now that he owes you half his value, it's a debt. But he's a free man now.
So a fully free man cannot marry a shashfa.
So says the Gemara, so after they heard Tana Bet Shammai, they agreed to Bet Hillel. So you see from here that the Mishnah Rishona was that Bet Hillel come and they say, somebody that's Chetio Eved Chetio Ben Chorin, he could say like that for the rest of his life. Mishnah Charona is that they retracted and they said no, that the Bedin forced the master to free him, and then he writes a document, so therefore it's a completely different halacha. Okay? Says the Gemara. Chutz mecheresh shotev v'katan, except for a cheresh shotev v'katan. Katani cheresh dumya de shotev v'katan. We learned a cheresh, which is dumya de shotev v'katan. What does that mean? We learned a cheresh, which is a deaf mute, which is dumya de shotev v'katan. Right? Ma shotev v'katan de la bnei de'ah, just like shotev v'katan, they don't have da'at. A cheresh is a deaf mute. A shoteh is like that. A katan also does not have that. Obviously, the cheresh also has to be that he does not have that, which means it is. When we just said here, right, what does it mean? The cheresh is compared to the shoteh and katan. Katan does not have that. Shoteh does not have that. So the cheresh has to be like that. What are we talking about? So this is talking about, just like we learned in the Mishnah and Trumot, cheresh dibru chachamim b'chol makom b'derech klal. A cheresh in any place where we're talking about is she'eno shomea ve'eno medaber, is deaf mute. It has to be, he doesn't hear and he doesn't speak. It's one or the other. Whether it's that he speaks but he doesn't hear, or he hears but doesn't speak, hayav, he's going to be chayav, because then that's not the cheresh that the Mishnah was talking about. So whenever we're talking about the cheresh, it has to be that he's deaf mute. Deaf mute is not a dot. One, somebody that hears but he doesn't speak, or doesn't hear, he still has dot. He has dot. So therefore, right, he's going to be obligated in the Qurban Riyah. Right? Tanina lehad tanu rabbanan. And this is just like that which the rabbis taught. Usually, if you speak, if a person speaks but they can't hear, they're a cheresh. If he listens but he does not speak, it's an ilem. But a cheresh ve'ilim, right? They're pichkin for everything. Meaning they're pikach. Meaning not because somebody they can't talk afterwards. They could be 100% normal. They just stop. They cut out of it. Huh? Yeah, or for a person, right, that they cannot hear anymore. At the beginning, he was perfectly fine. All of a sudden, he lost his hearing. Now what? Now he's a kutembel. Now he's a shoteh. It's not a shoteh. He's 100% there, but he just can't hear. So it's a problem. It's a handicap. How do we know that somebody that only speaks but cannot hear is called a cheresh, and the shomea v'eno and the one that hears but cannot speak? How do we know that that's called a nilem? It says the Gemara, it says in the pasuk, "V'ani cheresh lo eshma uchilem lo yiftach piv." It's a pasuk mefurash in Tehillim. He says he's like a cheresh; he does not listen. So obviously, cheresh means, right, that you're not here, right, and ilem is lo yiftach piv, right, that you cannot open up. Or if you want, you could answer, right? He says, if you want, you could answer. The words were taken from him. So the word al-ilem is a notikon. It's like an acronym. What's an acronym? It's Rashet Tevot, ishtakel milule. Aleph lamed, ishtakel, right? It was taken. Milule, his words. So therefore, it's mashma from there, right? That it's not, that basically that he could still hear, but he cannot speak. Says the Gemara, right? It's interesting that it didn't mention about Vatem Tachadishum, right, in the Torah. And there, Vatem Tachadishum means that you keep quiet. But I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. So now says the Gemara. Okay. He says like this. Yeah. So he says, Medaber v'eno shomea, shomea medaber chayav. V'atanya medaber v'eno shomea, shomea medaber patur. He says, 1 second. You just wanted to say that who's exempt? A cheresh, which is 100% a cheresh. What does it mean 100% cheresh? Both. Deaf, mute, both together. If it's one or the other, you're going to be chayav. Says the Gemara, we learned in Braita that he's going to be patur, even if he's one or the other. Meaning whether he's an ilem or a cheresh, he's going to be exempt. So Ravina says, something says Rava that says, we're actually lacking part of the Braita, and this is what it means to say, right? Part of the Mishnah, and this is what it means to say. Hakol chayavim bereiyah. Everybody is obligated in the korban reiyah. Remember, olat reiyah. Reiyah is olat reiyah, the korban olah, the burnt offering. Uva simcha. What is the simcha? Shalmei Hagigah. Right? Why? It's a shlamim, it's a peace offering. You eat from it. You're happy. It makes you happy. The olat reiyah doesn't make you happy. You give it to Hashem and it's completely consumed. You don't become happy. It's just reiyah. You see Hashem. Shalmei Hagigah is simcha. Right? That's the happiness. Chutz mecheresh amdaber v'eno shomea. Shomea v'eno medaber shepatur min reiyah. Now, by a cheresh, right, that he's only one, which means he speaks but he does not hear. Or by a shomea v'eno medaber, which is an ilem, he's patur from the reiyah. But even though he's patur from the korban reiyah, he's chayav in the simcha. He's obligated in the korban shalmei Hagigah. Now, but both v'shoteh v'katan is patur af min simcha. It's patur completely from both. Because they are patur from all the mitzvot which are written in the Torah. Right? Who? The one or the other. He's chayav in the korban Hagigah, the shalmei Hagigah, but not in the olat reiyah.
Or this,
or mute, exactly.
But not the
not the riyah. And the one which is deaf mute is patur from everything. Why? Because they're patur from all mitzvot in the Torah. So there's a lot of achronim, and even it could be even a rishonim, that they say that these people are only patur from the mitzvot aseh, but they're not exempt from the lot aseh. Meaning a shoteh or a katan or all these things, they are exempt from positive commandments, but not that they can do all the negative commandments that they want. You understand? Meaning not just because he's you just let him do whatever he wants. We also learned in a Braita, right? We said it's exactly what we taught in a Braita. We learned in a Braita, everybody's obligated to korban reiyah and the simcha, except for a cheresh that he's going to be patur from the korban reiyah. And even though he's going to be patur from the reiyah, chayav besimcha. Gimel amud aleph on the top, he's going to be chayav in the shalmei Hagigah. But if he does not speak and not hear, a deaf mute or a shoteh v'katan, peturav bina mitzimcha. He's also patur from the korban Hagigah, which is a simcha. He's going to be patur from all the mitzvot which are written in the Torah. Have a wonderful day, everyone.